Welcome to the Ultimate Bloons TD6 strategy series, where I'm going to be showing you strategies for every single tower from the Dart Monkey to the Beast Handler and every single path in between. This will show you how to diversify your setup and get better, along with seeing some stats, tips and tricks, and all of the strategies for every single one of the towers. And although that the series is geared more towards Chimps mode, this will also show you a lot of tips and tricks that apply to the standard game and will allow you to win with a new style.
Today we have the actual middle path village. Last episode I said the primary expertise was middle path, but no, this one's middle path, and I got the order mixed up when I was recording it, so we're here now. So anyways, the MIB is used for fixing damage types. The Call to Arms gives a map-wide buff, which is actually really cool. And the Homeland defense is just a better map-wide buff and is also pretty expensive. So we'll talk about that. Anyways, the MIB will just change your damage type into normal damage type, which if you don't know, that just means it will make it pop literally everything. So if something can't pop leads, most famously, you'd use it to get something to pop DDTs if it can't pop blitz. The Call to Arms will give all the towers, every tower on the map, more attack speed and pierce, which is actually really nice. So everything will do well with that. And the Homeland defense is just like that, but it's ramped up and it gives an incredibly strong buff to everything on the screen for a decent amount of time. It's a really unique and interesting tower. It's kind of like the overclock, but it's a weaker buff and affects everything and a little more expensive, and also gives some pierce too. So anyways, with crosspath, you get whatever. Crosspath doesn't matter if you need discounts or drums, whatever. But what it buffs is going to be like this Shrapnel Elite Defender, which cannot pop DDTs, so we can get it to pop DDTs. Now, a lot of people will be talking about MIB skips, but there's a few reasons why you'd want to get MIB instead of doing the MIB skip itself. One of the reasons is like this Apache Prime. This Apache Prime is not in range of the MIB, and let's watch it try to take out these DDTs. Oh, it is very bad, but when you put it in range of MIB, it will be a lot better. Now, the one thing about MIB skips is that it usually will take sharp damage and remove the lead property on the DDTs, or give lead property, so they will be able to pop DDTs. But if a tower has explosions or stuff like that, it will not be able to pop the DDT still, kind of like that example with that Apache Prime, because it has black property still, which the MIB skip won't deal with. But when it comes to the MIB, you can just put down, it's safe, it's easy. That's one reason why you might want to use it. And the Call to Arms and Homeland defense also has a neat little gimmick. It can buff everything on the screen, which is really nice for spam strategies. I'm going to be talking about that too. But it can also buff sub towers. So like an overclock, you put it on a Comanche commander, that's not really going to do anything. You don't want to do that. But a Call to Arms and Homeland defense, you can do that. So the pros is it's guaranteed normal type damage. CTA and Homeland affect everything. CTA and Homeland can buff sub towers, and its cons is that it's expensive, and a lot of times you can do an MIB skip alternative, which gives an extra bonus or is cheaper. So our objectives is just going to be talking about MIB and MIB skip, and then CTA and Homeland defense kind of strategies that you can do. So for the first example, I'm going to be starting off here on Quiet Street. We're just going to get Quincy down, simple early game, and I'm going to be going for a Sentry Champion, which has a kind of unique synergy with the Call to Arms. And that's that you kind of get the effect of Call to Arms twice exclusively on Sentry Champions. I guess you could do it with like Sentry Expert Spam, which is kind of a funny little meme I did a while ago. But Sentry Champion, we're going to be looking at this guy mostly. And that's because it buffs it twice in a way that when the Sentry Champion tower itself will get the buff, it will start placing down Sentry Champion turrets faster. But then those Sentry Champion turrets are sub towers, and unlike an overclock, they're going to get buffed by the Call to Arms again. So we're going to be getting more Sentry turrets. That all of these more Sentry turrets are going to be then getting that pierce and attack speed buff, and it can actually go kind of insane. It's a pretty nice and cool strategy, so I definitely recommend trying it out. It's also really nice and easy because you can kind of just get a simple hero down, like Quincy down there in the early game, Sada, whatever you want, and the sentries are really good at early game damage. You can get this guy, he's going to be doing well. Sentry expert, sometimes it's a little bit goofy with the cold sentry, it can mess up your towers. We love cold sentry, but it's a strong upgrade actually, and when you get good sentries down, they'll be able to do some good stuff. There's like some weird algorithm based on what balloons are on the screen for like what kind of sentry turrets it will put down. Not sure if I remember exactly how it works, but on some rounds you're just gonna get like a ton of cold sentries and they're gonna do what cold sentries do, like 41 for example, which is kind of funny. So basically we have that, and we'll get some little extra stuff. I think I grab an ace in there just to do some damage because we are getting for a sentry champion save up and can't do it just quite with one of those. And then I believe I end up getting like I think like recursive cluster there just to deal with 63, and we get it sometime in the 70s. So if I budgeted things a little bit earlier, I possibly could have gotten it before around 63, but it kind of has to be an easier map in order for that to work. This 34k before round 63 is a pretty gnarly save up, and it can be kind of hard to do especially if you're doing a blackboard and you want to mitigate all RNG. So basically we'll get that, we'll get MIB later. MIB doesn't have an effect really on the strategy, but it's the call to arms that we want to go after. And one thing that I'll note is that call to arms is kind of expensive. It is an expensive upgrade, so when you're using it you really want to make sure that you're getting the most out of it. So you're going to want to make sure that you're pairing it with a good synergy, or you have a ton of towers that you're trying to affect, like a whole lot of towers. So yeah, something kind of like that. But as a quick review, let's take a little break in between this run and go on to just seeing I guess practical use of having more so the MIB right here instead of like this call to arms. So you'd use it again, as I said, to make sure your towers are able to hit DDTs. You could use it for like other damage types, but those situations are really rare, and in Chimps mode you usually don't see it. But overclock, as I said, if you have one tower, it's pretty much always better just to get overclock than call to arms. So we have this guy, you can have your MIB and then get overclock. It's cheaper than like getting CTA itself. The buff lasts longer and it's more attack speed. You don't get that pierce, but most of the time you don't necessarily need that. And then when you get something like Homeland, if you're getting Homeland just for like one specific tower, it probably is not going to be worth it. So like say if I just got this one elite defender up here, then you really aren't going to be getting that much value for having just like one call to arms buffing one tower. You kind of want to have like a whole party. So if you have a spam strategy of like say tax, that could work out pretty well, and you could have like those tax and MIB range to get that MIB effect. And then you'd be getting all those buffs. That pierce and attack speed would be actually really good for those tax, and that could just be like a good fun alternative to if you maybe aren't so comfortable with doing like the MIB skip with Gwen, which is typically what you would see if you have an overdrive spam, something along the lines. There are also a bunch of other cases where call to arms might be really good. And then also if you saw my Etienne video, the French video, then you would have seen that there's a really cool strategy that you can do with Etienne and the Comanche Commander. It doesn't have to be with both of them necessarily. You could have it, you use it with Etienne and some other towers, or Comanche Commander and literally like whatever hero. But because they're sub towers, kind of like the same way with Sentry Champion, with the sub towers, you can buff them up with call to arms and they'll actually go kind of insane, which is really cool. The pierce and attack speed actually on both, well, on Comanche Commander more specifically, pierce and attack speed is really good because using with both of them they'll do a lot better, and with like a damage debuff on top of that, it's just gonna go absurd. So that's some other things you can do. You really can go kind of crazy with call to arms in some weird ways and really experiment with funny strategies too. So like try to find like some like weird spam, like Spectre spam is kind of silly with call to arms. Maybe not necessarily the most effective, but just some fun stuff like Rosalie and Spectre spam. And then there's also like some other serious stuff you can do. Just a really cool and awesome tower, to be honest, and something that I don't really see a lot kind of overshadowed by overclock, because most of the time when people are playing Chimps mode, they have like one specific strong tower that they're using, even 2 towers. A lot of times it might just be better to get 2 overclocks than 1 call to arm, especially if you don't need MIB. If you do need MIB, getting call to arms might be like a cool addition, because you already have MIB, so you're only paying 21k instead of like the 30 something k that you would just for outright buying a CTA itself. So to round off the strategy in this video, I end up just getting some more support towers. We get that Bloon impacted there in the back, grab a Relentless Glue, and Abyssal Warrior, just stuff to pull all of this together. You could get like more damage or whatever if you want. And then we just use that call to arms ability when we need it. When that's down, we have our Quincy abilities to help clean up, which is going to be really nice. And as you can see, we're just going to destroy round 98 here. Things absolutely gone. Really cool and neat. And then for 100 I just get a first strike, and I can first strike that open and win.
Thanks for watching. If you want to help out the channel, you can check out these new videos, like and subscribe for more content, support the channel by becoming a member, and joining the Discord to chat with the community. Bye!